Hello, I'm Roger Bisbee from the Skill Builder channel, and I'm delighted to be back in Cork in Ireland at the Pipelife Academy with Mike Geary, who is the chief mover and shaker here. He does all the training and technical stuff, and he knows a few things about pipe. There are still people out there who don't quite trust plastic pipe. They talk about copper and they prefer copper, and I understand why. When you look at plastic pipe now, we're talking about PEX, polybutylene. It's got a 50-year guarantee, and quite honestly, I've used it for years. I've never had any trouble. Whereas when I've used copper, you do get the odd bit where there's a bit of carbon in it and you get a leak. I'm not saying copper's a bad thing. It's not. I'm happy using it. But I also like plastic pipe. There's a couple of things, Mike, that I think about. One is that I'm a big fan of pipe in pipe. It hasn't really taken off in the UK, but I see it on the continent, and I just think it's a lovely idea. You know, you've got colour-coded, it's protected, you use a manifold, and you take it in a continuous line to the shower or whatever you do in the bath or basin. No joints under the floor, and I just think, what a system. And now I notice that you do an insulated version of that here.
Yeah, we do. We do both. We do pipe and pipe. In addition to the benefits that you just outlined there, you know, if in a situation that during construction a pipe could get damaged, so a carpenter could put a nail through the pipe. The beauty about the pipe and pipe is you can pull it through the ducting.
Some people don't believe that, do they? Because I did say that before, and they said, no, you can't do that. But
I have personal experience of it. It definitely can be done. Now, assuming that the bends within the ducting are slow bends, that they're not really tight bends. But we had a situation a couple of years ago. All the pipes were ran through for radiators locations, all ran out through the back of the house and just left there for they were building an external boiler house, and kids got in there over the weekend and pulled out the pipes out of the ducting. Okay. But the installer was very well able to rethread the pipes again within the ducting, so it was an easy fix solution in
How
that respect.
How did he rethread it? Because he's not pushing it, just pushing it through.
He was pushing it through, exactly.
And that's all?
Yeah.
Not even dragging it?
No, pushing it through.
You put a leader on the front of a pipe, some kind of cone knows.
You could do that, but the Qualpex pipe is, while it's very flexible, it's quite rigid when you're pushing it in through a small duct. So it has nowhere to go and nowhere to bend. So it was an ideal situation for that. So you can rethread it, and a lot of installers have that comfort, or they're using it for that comfort that, God forbid, if something happens to the pipe, and it mightn't be during construction, it could be 5 or 6 years time during upgrades of a house, that if there's a nail that goes through it, that they can remove the nail, pull the pipe through and rethread it. Then I suppose moving on from that, we do offer pre-insulated pipes, colour-coded. While you don't have to insulate all the pipes within the house in terms of flows and returns to radiators, best practice is you're concentrating the heat to where you want it to go. So you're reducing heat loss if depending on the layout of the house. The manifold location could be central to the house, and the pipes might have to transit through different rooms. So what you don't want to do is little hot spots on that floor, because when there's hot spots on the floor, that's heat loss. It's beneficial heat loss because it's going into the thermal envelope of the building, but when we're designing a system and we're sizing a radiator, we want the most amount of heat to go into that room, and we don't really want to lose it in the floor. So in that situation, a pre-insulated Qualpex coil is ideal for that scenario.
I did do a job once in quite a large house, and the way it was designed was that all the underfloor heating pipes were going through one bedroom back to the manifold, and it happened to be the bedroom for the au pair. And I said to the builder, I said, when they get in this bedroom, this is going to be unbearable. You've got 16 pipes going through under the floor in this one room. I said, you've got to put some insulation on that. And he couldn't really understand what I was saying, but I said to him, honestly, anybody sleeping in this room will cook, you know, with that kind of... And there are areas, I take on board exactly what you're saying about put the heat where you want it. and cut the heat losses down. You know, it's
Yeah.
going to be a faster acting system anyway, isn't it? Like
It is going to be exactly that. It's going to be faster acting, because if it's not insulated, while there's beneficial heat loss into the room, that space of concrete has to be heated, and that is heated. That is starving the radiator where the heat is supposed to be going to heat that space. But it's a good point with the underfloor heating, and you have a high concentration of pipes going into a manifold. You will get scenarios that the homeowner will stand on that warm patch and say, my underfloor heating is working perfectly here, but it's not working anywhere else.
Oh, yeah.
So, but it's the fact that the high concentration of pipes, it's nice and toasty, but underfloor heating, the floor itself should never feel warm. It should feel just nice and toasty under your foot, underfoot. But yeah, that is a common perception that it's the high level of concentration, and you'll always get that high level of concentration of pipes going into the manifold, because you have the confluence of pipes coming into a very tight area. But yeah, space out the pipes as best possible.
We have a situation. The cameraman Dylan here, at his house, when we did the underfloor heating at his house, we had a 22mm PEX pipe going through to the manifold, and that's buried. So you've got the normal loops, the normal coil, but you've got this flow and return 22mm going under the floor, and his dog has worked out that that's the best place in the room to be. And he's got a dog basket in one corner, and the dog keeps dragging the dog basket over to the other spot, the warmer. It's not cold at any point in the room, but that bit is that much warmer. And every time he drags it back, tells the dog off, the dog, stay in your basket, stay in the corner, and he gets up in the morning and the dog's dragged it back over to the other side. It's amazing.
That's amazing. A similar story to that, we were called out to a running cost issue with, it was actually an oil boiler at the time, and there was the homeowner was saying, my underfloor heating is really, really expensive to run. And it so happened to be a frosty. It was the first day back. I'm with the company 20 years now. It was the first or second year I was working with the company, is that far back. And the complaint came in, running cost issue. It's very, very expensive. And when I drove in, it was a really lovely frosty January morning, and there was a layer of frost on the newly poured tarmac. And I drove into the house and I saw this lovely, dry, warm part of the tarmac, no ice on it, for about 20 metres from the shed right into the house.
So the boiler room maybe in the shed.
So I knocked at the door and I said, well, I know where your boiler is. It's down there, and I know what the cause of this running cost issue. But the pipes weren't insulated.
Not at all.
Not at all. And it was unfortunate that they only poured brand new tarmac about 3 weeks before.
Yeah.
Because they and going back to your scenario with the dog, and she said, no, that isn't the thaw from the boiler. That is, the dog walks up and down there. And I said, that's why the dog walks up and down there, because he's lovely warm paws.
Yeah. Oh, is that funny?
Yeah. So going back to insulation. Insulation is critical, particularly when there's pipes outside of the thermal envelope of the building. And insulation, there's a perception out there that, we offer what we call the Qualpex Eco Duo, which is 2 1-inch or 28mm pipes.
I saw that on my factory tour.
Encapsulated in a duct, and while it's highly insulated, insulation is only gauged on time.
It will lose its heat eventually.
It will lose its heat eventually, and we've installers even ringing here, and it's a bit of a bugbearer for me. I need a coil of your zero heat loss pipe. There is no such thing as zero heat loss. We've never marketed it as zero heat loss. It's a highly insulated pipe, but insulation is only gauged in time. If we fill this room with insulation and we put a pipe, a bottle of water in the middle of the room and cover the entire room with insulation, and we expose this room to external temperatures that are below zero, eventually that bottle of water will freeze. So while we come across burst pipes in very, very cold, harsh winters, and the installer is explaining to the homeowner that, look, previously we've done everything right, it is burst due to a frost burst, etc. And the homeowner is saying, well, it's insulated, it can't burst.
I know,
So there is a perception out there that once it's insulated, it'll never freeze. That is not the case. It's only gauged.
It's a funny thing at that, because the logical conclusion to that is that if that were possible, that the insulation would stop the heat loss, you'd have no need for heating. You just insulate,
Exactly.
and then therefore.
Exactly.
But
Very
I
true.
say this to people, and in my time going out to burst pipes and so on, the other thing you get is that the insulation will keep the cold in. So days after
Yes.
the outside air temperature has gone up,
Yes.
the pipes are still frozen in the house because they've frozen, and the insulation is now stopping the heat to cold from
Exactly.
outside.
So it actually works in reverse as well.
And that's why several days after the temperature's gone up, we get phone calls, burst pipe phone calls, not necessarily while the cold weather's on, because people don't know they've burst, but afterwards,
And just going back to your point on copper as well, the plastic pipes will have more tolerance to colder temperatures.
Yeah.
Whereas copper pipes has a minimum, a much reduced tolerance. So the copper pipe will burst faster than would the plastic pipe, because the plastic pipe can expand and contract, etc. Whereas copper doesn't have that thermal.
And every plumber knows that thing of you go out, like you do something in a loft, and you go to put an olive onto or a fitting onto a copper pipe, but it won't fit because actually it's expanded. At some point it's frozen, expanded, not to the point it's going to burst, but enough to make it 16 mil rather than 15 mil.
Exactly,
like.
and it's quite challenging to get that O-ring onto the pipe then, particularly when the pipe is cut.
Yeah, or virtually impossible. That's when I rip it all out and put in a bit of plastic.
That's why plumbing is challenging. It's not the same thing every day for sure.
Yeah. But I've got to say, it's a joy to be doing that now when you can thread cable a bit of pipe through the floorboards, especially with the old eco joists, and you've got all that room and you just go straight through one end to the other.
Yeah.
Job
Well,
done.
the whole construction industry it's gone down. It's again, we discussed it earlier in terms of there's less and less people getting into construction. Probably not so much at a higher level construction from an engineering background, from a project management, but definitely on the trades. And it's a concern that we would have here in the Irish market that there isn't enough apprentices going into trades. It's a fantastic opportunity to learn a skill that will be with you for the rest of your days. It's not something that anybody can take away from you. You're paid as you're being trained, which is another benefit. And you'll have a skill set that will be there for the rest of your life. But the construction industry, because of that, are looking at that as well. And they're looking again for prefabricated. You mentioned the eco joist. I remember when I was an apprentice, I spent most of my time drilling joists.
That's right,
and
absolutely,
you mightn't drill them in the right place and the right line, etc. But with plastic pipes, eco joists, it's all about speed. It's not taking away from the skill set of the installer. The skill set of the installer is to make as much money in the end of the year as possible. And and with the change of design and the change of habits in the construction industry, it's all about speed.
It's constantly changing, and every time it changes, you get a load of people. I understand this who just say, "Oh, it's not as good as the old system. It's not as good as the way we used to do it." Now, because I'm such an incredible age now, when I first started as an apprentice plumber, one of the first jobs I did, first day out, we put a lead water main into a church, wiping the joints in the trench, and I had to roll it out and do all a bit. And I think, blimey, lead water main's now illegal. But, in my lifetime, we did that. So we went from there to copper, and I was rolling copper out in the ground. I went from there to plastic, and then I was even doing caulking old cast iron soil stacks with the lead joints. That all went, plastic came in, plastic soil pipes, plastic. Nothing wrong with any of it. But every time there's a load of people who go, "Oh yeah, we used to bash the old lead into the collars, as if it was some kind of pleasant activity. It wasn't. It was horrible."
Yeah, well, look, there's a counter-argument to that. They can still do that if that's what they want to do. But you'll find there's new technologies out there to speed things up. And you'll find the guy, the installer, that is moving with the new technology, will need, they'll get through work faster. And if there's, we still have installers here wanting to use copper pipe, wanting to use black iron pipe and gun barrel pipe. No issue with that whatsoever. It's a fantastic skill. But we're just offering an alternative to speed things up.
Yeah, I don't think my stocks and dyes have seen any action for years threading pipe.
Offer them to a museum, maybe you can.
I haven't quite got rid of them yet. They're still sitting there in the box.
They
But
might come back. They might come back.
You reckon? There's a lot going on here, isn't there? And you keep introducing new ranges. And the other thing that amazes me is I look down there. I think there are 24 different production lines down there churning out pipe 24/7.
Yeah.
And I think you're not the only people in the game. Where is all that pipe going? It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, look, there's similar to the UK. There's a housing shortage here at the moment. We're building houses very, very quickly. You know, all those houses need materials, and you'd be surprised with the level of technology that's out there now, and zoning and systems. There's more electrical cable going into all houses now. There's more pipe going into houses in terms of in comparison to traditional installs. So there's much more material going into houses now than there was when we were.
That's quite interesting, actually, because if you go back, you know, I've been walking around Cork. Some of those houses, a couple of 100 years old, they would have had one tap.
Yep.
And not much more, you know.
But one tap and a back boiler, and that was it. And people
lucky.
Survived.
Yeah.
Nobody died of the cold at the time.
Well, you say that, but some grim times, some hard
yes, indeed.
times, weren't there?
Yeah. But it's all about comfort now. People are working from home as well. They want a certain level of comfort, so that's what we're here to do, and make it as easy for the installer as at all possible.
So if you want to find out more about Pipelife's many products, ever-growing range of products, then go to our website, which is skill-builder.uk, and there we've got a dedicated Pipelife page. You can find out all about it.